Hello, and welcome to the BLC Podcast, a ministry of Bethlehem Lutheran Church, St. Cloud, Minnesota. Of course, we've entered into the holiday season. Commercials are everywhere. We live in a culture saturated with them. It's not just a big part of the holiday season, but commercials or commercialism has become a major part of the culture. But what happens if a church becomes too commercialized? Have you ever heard the phrase from somebody that they were church shopping? What is the role of the church anyway? Is it to provide you with the best Sunday morning experience, filled with great musical worship, an amazing message that you get a lot out of, therefore helping you become the best version of yourself that you can become? Or is it meant to be something different? Stay with us as Chad and I open up this conversation and ask ourselves, are we handing out Doritos on Sunday, or are we handing out the bread of life? Thanks for listening. The Lord be with you. Alrighty, well, welcome to the next episode of the BLC Podcast, coming to you live from my office.
Yes,
our podcast
live.
Studio.
Recorded from your office.
We're experiencing it live.
Oh, yeah.
I just wonder about that when people say it was recorded live. It's like, well, wasn't everything recorded live?
Yeah, that's... I don't know. I never thought about that before, Matt.
Anyways, that's not the topic of today, though. The topic of today is kind of gathered around this idea of the holidays and Christmas coming up here, and an aspect of Christmas that has infiltrated about every part of our lives, wouldn't you say, Chad? This aspect we're talking about on this lovely fine day.
Absolutely.
The aspect is consumerism. Of course, consumerism being a large part of the holiday season coming up. No matter what holiday you celebrate, consumerism will be a part of it. It's just a part of our lives, wouldn't you say? I guess it's a part of what makes our country run, I suppose.
It is. I mean, you can't get away from that at all.
You can't. And it has infiltrated its way into just about every aspect of our life. Can't go too far without seeing a commercial, without somebody trying to sell you something, or without feeling like you need to buy something.
Absolutely.
If I'm being honest. Some days you just wake up, you're like, I need to buy something off Amazon today. So you pop out your phone and you just buy something. So that's kind of the area we're taking today, the direction we're leading this conversation here. So talking about consumerism and the church and how it is gotten into the church, and is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What do we do with that? Is there some dangers involved in that? What's fun about it? What's not fun about it?
Right.
Any of those types of things there. So, but just to kick off the conversations, the holidays are upon us, Chad.
Yes.
Yes, they are. As we've said, consumerism is everywhere. Have you seen any good Christmas commercials yet?
You know, I don't know. Like, Christmas commercials start like 2 months ago, even before Thanksgiving, I swear. Like, they become earlier and earlier each year. And there hasn't been anything like, Christmas related, but it's all kind of the same thing. It's all these commercials about, how your life is not yet complete until you have whatever it is they're trying to pitch for you here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Coke steps up their games this time of year. I think the day after Halloween, Coke started running this advertisement where there's a bunch of Coca-Cola trucks all decked out in Christmas lights, and they're coming into the city, like just a convoy of Coke trucks. And this song is just, all the days are coming, all the days are coming, all the days are coming. It's like, I don't know anybody who drinks that much just regular Coke.
Yeah.
I know people who drink Diet Coke, but it's just like, good grief.
Yeah.
But Coca-Cola has become kind of a staple for me around the holidays as far as the commercials go. Like, I almost kind of look forward to the Coke commercials at Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the one where you get like the fun holiday bears, the polar bears. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
He opens up a Coke. He's like,
Good sound effect, Matt.
Thank you. My polar bear Coca-Cola sound effect.
Right. Well, and this is also the time of year where, like, you can't go to a coffee shop without getting their Christmas, whatever specialty drink.
Yeah, and the Christmas mugs come out, or the coffee cups come out.
Right. I mean, so my my oldest daughter works at Dunkin' Donuts, and or Dunkin', I guess as they're called now. They dropped the donuts, but just Dunkin'.
Are they just Dunkin' now?
I think so, yeah. Anyway, so she always she doesn't really complain about it, but when their holiday menus come out, their drink menus, everybody always comes, they flock to that, and they're starting to advertise that now on TV. And for a low price of $10 for a coffee, you too can get the Christmas whatever. So
Got to get my Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' for Christmas. Ben Affleck. Have you seen those commercials? Yeah. So anyway, consumerism. What, Chad?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Okay.
What would you like for Christmas this year?
Okay. So this is very specialized, Matt. So you may know this, people may know this about me, that during the fall, the spring, summer, fall, I loved to road bike. And if you've ever wondered, if you've seen people road bike before, you wonder man, they're out a long ways. What do they do if they get, have bike trouble or something?
Sure.
Well, we carry a lot of stuff with us, a lot of compact stuff with us. And so one of the things that I carry is a little mini pump. If I get a flat tire, I have an extra tube. I can, take my tire off, put a new tube on, then I have a little mini pump that pumps up that tube. But it takes forever. It's just forever. Well, they make these rechargeable tube inflators now, little mini, tiny little automatic mini pumps. And it's very fancy, very cool. And honestly, that's what I want for Christmas, Matt.
That sounds pretty good for somebody who's an avid biker, which you are. That sounds like a good idea. I just got a new mountain/street bike a couple months ago, so I may have to look for one of those.
There you go. If you're ever 20 miles outside of home and you need someone to come rescue you, you'll appreciate having one.
There you go, folks. So now you heard it here first. So now you're gonna get a million bike tire pump from anybody who's I'm gonna get Chad something for Christmas.
What about you, Matt? What do you want?
I haven't given it much thought, honestly, at this point for myself. I've been thinking a bit more about the kids and stuff, and so Wally wants a Nintendo Switch. So Dad kind of wants one too now.
The new one. You got to go with the new one though.
Yeah.
You can't go with the old one, because they have the Switch 2 or whatever. That's the thing about consumerism, Matt. It's you
gotta have the best.
Planned obsolescence. They come out with new versions of everything every so many years, especially with electronics, and you don't want to be left behind.
No, you do not, because then baby Jesus will not come at Christmas time.
Right. Don't make baby Jesus cry by getting a bargain on electronics from an old Switch. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't make baby Jesus cry. So it's fascinating to me how much consumerism, and this is not a new conversation. I guess we're talking about Christmas and consumerism. It's there. It's not necessarily a new conversation, but it is one that I thought would lead us nicely into talking about it more in the church. It's a conversation, I think. Have you heard people talking about it in the church, consumerism in the church?
Well, I don't know if people directly use that terminology, but it's full of it. And it's actually, I think it's really complicated. But yes, of course, yes, absolutely, that becomes a conversation with some people.
And people, let's relate it to shopping for a car, shall we? First off. Chad, what were you looking for the last time you bought a vehicle?
A few years ago, my old car needed to be replaced. Actually, I just gave it to my oldest so that she could drive it around and I didn't have to worry about her having a nice car to ruin.
Yes.
So I got a new car and I was looking for a hybrid, so I was particular on the style that way. And because I'm me, I have to research the most reliable, the best, brand, whatever. I need to have other people tell me oh yeah, we've all tried this and it's really good, and because of that, I'll probably like it as well. So that's a lot of research went into finding the best consumer rated hybrid SUV.
Okay. And what'd you end up with?
And at that time, which I still think is pretty high up there, we went with the Honda CR-V as a hybrid model, and I like it.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about it when you first got it, and how cool it was when it switches over to the.
Yeah, you can't even tell.
You can't even hear the engine, right, when it switches over to using more of the electronic motors and gets good gas mileage. And
absolutely.
That's cool. That's cool.
And you're shopping for cars too, right?
We are currently vehicle shopping as our family is growing. We've got an old rusty Chevy Malibu starting to show through a few rust spots on it, and we could use a little more space there. So we're looking for something with, third row seating, Chad. We want some storage, some stow and go
options.
Ooh, yeah.
Options.
Never thought back in the day I'd be like drooling over like, ooh, it's got a third row.
At least it's not a minivan.
Stow and go. Well, Chad, might surprise you. We have put minivans as a possibility.
Have you really?
I've never in my life thought I would be.
love seeing you drive a minivan, Matt.
Interested in driving a minivan. I always said, like, in high school, I was like, I'll never drive one of those things. And now I'm just like, you know what? It's the most economical choice. But at the same time, they're getting a lot of money for those things.
I know, they're very expensive.
So maybe not.
But they're actually really nice, though, too.
Right now, we're leaning towards a third row SUV, like a Chevy Traverse, maybe, or something like that.
Okay.
None of these companies have paid us to say this, by the way. We are not sponsored by. Me and Chad will not bow down to any sponsor on this show. We will be sponsor free.
There we go.
Therefore, you'll always hear the truth from us. All right, but anyway, so when you're car shopping, you're looking for certain things.
Yep.
Chad, have you ever stumbled upon people who are church shopping?
Yeah, that's what people often say, I think that language has come part into our culture where, we shop for everything. Like you were mentioning, we shop for cars, we shop for the best deals, when we're looking for electronics and other consumer goods. And so it's natural that people use that same language when it comes to church. If they're looking for a church, what are they doing? Well, they're church shopping. So, unless you live in a very small town with very, very limited options, you have a lot of options to choose from. In fact, you might, well, here you go, Matt. Do you remember, this happened, I presented this to our staff, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. Within a 30-mile radius from St. Cloud, do you remember how many churches there are? And these are all, like, if you lived in the St. Cloud area, 30 miles, that's commutable, right? You can make it to any of those churches. How many do you think there are?
Within 30 miles of downtown St. Cloud?
Yeah, just like 30 miles, just draw a circle.
50.
Oh, there are much more than that, Matt.
100.
Just over 100.
Holy my goodness.
Yeah, right? You wouldn't expect that. So there are over 100 churches in and around the St. Cloud area, 30 miles outside town. And how do you pick?
Yeah.
And that's where people end up, and they're like, well, we don't know, like, because, maybe we've just moved to the area. We don't have family that necessarily go to a specific place. We're not from the area. How do you pick a church when there are that many to choose from?
Yeah.
And so it becomes church shopping.
Church shopping. For me, somebody who's, been a part of the faith for a long time, I probably come at that from a much different angle now that I kind of know where I stand theologically.
Yeah.
On many issues and aspects and thoughts about the Bible and God and everything. And so that helps me narrow it down. Back in the day when I didn't have those things necessarily nailed down about what I believe about this, that, or the other when it comes to the Bible, and knowing things about different church denominations and that type of stuff, I probably would have been like, well, which one has the best music?
Exactly. So unless you are theologically astute, Matt, and have very
which I am, but I'm not, right? Take that with a grain of salt.
Well, but you know what, though? For most people out there, that I don't know how strongly they use that as a determination.
Sure.
Once upon a time, back in the day, if you were part of a Catholic church, you looked for a Catholic church. If you're part of a Lutheran church, you looked for a Lutheran church.
Yeah.
Those kind of brand, so to speak, those denominational loyalties, those are pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So you end up with this wide variety of churches, and you might want to look for one. But again, what's your criteria? And I think that's kind of the conversation we're having today, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let me add this to the conversation as we're talking about this here. I came across the blurb, which kind of sparked the idea for this conversation. And would you like to hear that blurb, Chad?
Yes, I would. Sure, Matt.
Here is the blurb here. The ubiquity of consumerism in late capitalism has fully infiltrated the church.
Ooh.
To the extent that church shopping and what I got from the sermon are things we say without thinking anything of it. People go to Sunday services to get something. They choose churches that fit them and match their checklist off off preferences. I don't know exactly. Just as one would choose a car or a new pair of jeans.
Ah.
So.
Hey, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna take that. So that is from the consumer
Right.
place. The consumerist comes in and does this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what it's like in that world to be a provider.
Yes.
That's stressful.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard that is? Like if I
imagine.
bought into that fully, do you know how much pressure that there is for people like me to provide people out there with the absolute best mind-blowing experience possible?
Yeah.
Like if it is always about getting that feeling meter up to a 10 every single week, oh my God, the pressure it already is high. I mean, it can be even higher in those situations. And I do know people who have felt this way, and it is absolutely led to burnout.
Oh, I've seen people get burned out in that kind of a setting too.
Yeah.
Where they're just they're the creative director or
Right.
they're the production designer or something. Of churches have these positions now.
Right.
It's like to produce a show each week, and then it's high burnout.
It's draining.
Yeah.
You sent me this video the other day.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about that video?
Yeah. I think
So-
I think this is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, because so people can kind of be guilty of this. I don't know if guilt is probably not the right word, but people can, for lack of a better word, people can be guilty of going at this with a consumeristic view, but also churches can do it as well as they try to provide the best experience.
Oh yeah.
So that they'll get the most people to come to their church for an experience, for something. And so I came across this Doritos commercial that's been banned, and I don't know if anyone out there has seen it before, but
It's actually banned.
well, it's banned on air. Doritos said no, we can't.
Oh,
We
I didn't know
cannot
they
air that anymore.
How did you
but
get across? Did you find it on the internet?
Luckily for YouTube, it's still out there. But I believe it was part of this campaign. Doritos said to their customers, like, make a commercial for us. We'll pick the best one and air it on the Super Bowl. Doritos used to do this.
Yeah.
And there used to be some really funny stuff that they would air and come up with. But I do remember seeing this one, and I think they showed it on air and then immediately never showed it again because everybody was like, whoa, you can't do that. But what they did is they showed a pastor, and he was looking at the bills the church had to pay,
Yeah.
and looking at the amount of new parishioners coming in, and there were very few new people coming into the church, and the bill stack was getting bigger. And so he's praying, he sees the light, he's like, I hear you, Lord, or something like that. He hears the crunch of a Dorito or a pop can opening, and he's like, I see the light. And the next thing you know, there's a line going out the door for communion, and he's handing the people Doritos for the wafers, for the communion wafers. And people are eating these Doritos going through the communion line, and then he's giving them Pepsi for the wine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I could see why that would, air once and maybe be taken down from the airwaves. But
well, have a little fun. You got to be able to joke.
Oh,
about yourself
yeah.
and everything. But I might have taken it a little too far.
well, but I think it touches on this though, right? I mean, because again, I mean, and again, we'll get deeper into this as we do our conversation, but we just laid the groundwork for people nowadays. It's a smaller and smaller group of people who are looking for a church, and because of that, I think this is in part because of that, there's more competition for churches. Like if you have 100 churches within the area of the St. Cloud area, and you have a shrinking number of individuals who are even open to the idea of belonging or becoming a potential member of a congregation, the feeling for the organization, for the church itself, is that, well,
Yeah.
you better step up your game. You know,
Attract them.
you have to attract them. How do you become better than all of those other churches out there so that they pick yours and not somebody else's? And oh my goodness, I mean, if that is not the market, like in a consumeristic approach to religion, that's, I don't know what else is.
Yeah.
But it spawned though so many interesting. I mean, interesting. I use the word interesting, but like I would say weird ideas with some congregations.
As people try to attract
Yeah.
parishioners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that commercial though, that hit it right on the head though. It's like, you know what? Yeah. Let's hand out Doritos. Then everybody would come.
Yeah. And what are we really? And at that point, is it church being the church anymore?
Right.
In that aspect of, obviously it's not. They're just giving people Doritos.
Right.
But are we, in a sense, creating churches in a consumeristic way that are like handing out Doritos?
Right. Well, here, I don't know. I mean, if this was part of your outline here on our conversation today, but like,
Yeah.
I think this naturally leads into this. Like before we kind of like, again, weigh in a little bit more heavier on the topic itself, like I don't know, because I think humor is funny. I mean, our humor is important.
Humor is funny.
Yes, right. And that was, humor is important. So, funniest stories of churches that you know of that
Yeah.
have done weird things to try and pull people in to,
love
attract
it.
those, hard to get new churchgoers.
I love it. Yeah. I go down a rabbit hole sometimes watching. There's even some Instagram pages dedicated to church mess ups.
Yeah.
And it's just these well-intentioned, probably wonderful people up there trying to be, you two, in the band or whatever. And I've seen drum kits fall apart, the drum cages fall apart. I've seen stuff crash down off the stage as they're trying to do stuff. But one of the greatest things I saw was a pastor at a mega church, for lack of a better word, and they had some sort of what do you call it, zip line system for their big like drama productions that they do.
Yeah.
And he just thought, well, I think I'm going to try that out. And I'm going to enter into my sermon on a Sunday morning through the ceiling and come flying in. And he probably had these thoughts that it was going to be super majestic. And you can see this out there. And then the guy comes kind of flying in on this zip line, but it's not going very fast. He's just kind of dangling there. And he kind of gets stuck. And people are just kind of looking at him like, what's going on here? And it's just like, oh my gosh, the stuff we do.
Yep. Then there's the ones where I'm aware of that have gone like to to almost bribe people. Like, there's a special, it's kind of like I'm dating myself here a little bit, but like, going back to the talk shows like Oprah and some of those talk shows back in the day, where they would give out like prizes or gifts to the audience, or like that special someone, the person sitting in row 5, seat 7.
Nice.
You win this. So I actually was aware of at least one congregation before, and again, larger congregation, that had weekly giveaways where if you sat in the lucky seat, you would walk away with a fabulous prize. And so it was an incentive to get people there every week because they could walk away with something fantastic for their home.
Oh my gosh. So yes, that's an interesting idea.
Yep.
Door prizes.
Door
essentially.
prizes. Door prizes at worship. There we go.
Yeah, big time. Have you seen the video of the drum lines at church? I think it was a Christmas production because churches go all out for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Even we do a few extra things here. Everybody does,
yeah.
and I think should. It's fun. But there was an entire drum line, and they were wearing lighted suits. Like they're all in suits that light up with LED lights, and they're all hanging from the ceiling.
Yep.
And being flown around, and they all have a drum attached to them, and they're drumming, and I'm just like, whoa, this is amazing. Like part of me is like, oh, this is awesome. I want to go to that church. The other part of me is like, wait a second, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like,
Well, it is interesting. I mean, because all that costs, like, I mean, if you were looking at the budget, like how much of a congregation's budget goes to that kind of performance.
Hanging a drum line from the
hanging
ceiling.
a drum line from the ceiling, right? And again though, like everybody's trying to just make their mark and attract, the people who are out there.
Yeah.
And that's how, in a consumerist culture, in a consumerist society, we do that by providing the biggest and the best possible experience for you, right? Yeah.
Do you think people can go to something like that, be attracted by it, and then after a while, they go, wait, what is this?
Well, yes. I mean, again, this is where the conversation gets a little bit interesting because I can see it on both ends here. Like, I don't think it's one way or the other. I think it's a very cautious mix here.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I mean, I have had conversation with numerous people who have gone to churches where it is absolutely it's an experience. I mean, it's meant to be an experience. It's meant to get your feeling meter up to a 10.
Right.
Every time you go. And there's fog machines and laser lights and all these cool things that, supplement whatever performance is happening at that time. And people have walked away from that after a period of time and said things like, the river was a mile wide and an inch deep. In other words, like they had all the cool stuff, but at the core heart of the message and the heart of the mission, it was about an inch deep. Like it was just attractional.
Yeah.
And they felt very unfulfilled being a part of something like that. On the other hand, there are lots of people who go to places, similar that are that may not feel that, but there's definitely, you run the risk of, what are you doing? Like, what are you really doing when you're doing that?
Yeah. And I can speak to personal experience from that. I grew up in the Lutheran church, and then I had a time where I started going to some friends' churches, and I saw that kind of an experience, and I was like, whoa, this is what church could be? And I was like, oh, this is what it should be. This is what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah, and I just dove headfirst into that.
Yeah.
And it was just, I started a praise band at our church, and I did all this stuff, and I played drums, guitar, and sing, and all this stuff, and I jumped into that full board, and I was going to Christian concerts and all sorts of stuff, and like, I don't know. At some point, I was sitting there at a Christian concert, and I was like, oh, that feeling's gone now.
Yeah.
That feeling that the first one gave me, I was like, oh, I feel so close to God, getting my worship on, doing it's so good. And then after a while, it's just like realized that I'd heard that song before, and I was like, oh, what's the next song? I want to hear a different song.
Right.
And it just became, and then I realized at some point I was like, I'm just consuming this stuff.
Right.
Like, this is not really doing anything for me spiritually per se anymore.
Right.
And so I had to do some spiritual thinking at that point, like, what really is worship for me? What am I worshiping? Or am I just consuming this stuff? Or am I, and I had to go through the time of finding out what's important to me.
Yeah.
And can I walk into a worship service that doesn't have any of that stuff and still be a part of it and feel that was something that was good for me?
And this is where people often they talk about it's the worship side, right? I mean, often in churches we talk about worship, and there's a big difference between performance and between art.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's a really important distinction to make. When you lose the art, so the art is creative creation. It is, you're being creative in trying to help people experience something deeper.
Yeah.
A story that they can connect to, that you can creatively bring about.
Oh, I love that.
That is something that people connect to and can make meaning from and be inspired by. Performance is really just geared for that kind of consumer piece.
Yeah.
It is, what is the latest and greatest piece that we can put together that really, it sounds good, but it's a flash in the pan and then just kind of over.
Yeah.
And so I think you can have two things that are very similar, but you have one with the intentionality of trying to be artistic and creative in how you're delivering a particular message. And then you can have another one where you're just primarily concerned with how do we get the most number of people in this arena, in this sanctuary? How do we fill our seats to capacity? And it's just a very different mentality then. And for a lot of people, they can begin to feel it's less fulfilling.
Absolutely. And I think, I've think I've come across a lot of people nowadays that they're kind of onto that.
Right.
They see the churches that are kind of producing the more entertainment side of things, and they're kind of like leery of that now. Whereas I don't know, I think when I was in my 20s, people were like, yeah, this is it, this is cool. But now I think people are like, you guys, what are you doing? It feels to me like society is more like, this is weird that you guys do this. Like, why? Like, what's going on? But I'm sure it's different for everybody. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and again, so here's my take on this too. Like, and here's the other side of the coin now, because the church is always a part of culture. It can't not be a part of culture.
Sure.
And depending on where the culture is at, that often, that in and of itself is it determines how the church it operates, it functions. I mean, you can go back to medieval Europe, where the church was an essential, part of the governance of the country. Like, bishops had incredible power.
Right.
The local church was a huge political force in the communities. That was part of the culture. And as a part of that, they were just a part of that. You didn't even have an option. Like, It was a state church. It was part of the experience of being part of the culture at that particular time.
Yeah.
Fast forward into the 50s, into this country, and believe it or not, most people don't know this, or I didn't know this at least. You had like mainline Protestantism in the 50s. There was a cultural piece with that where if you wanted to integrate into the middle class, if you wanted to build your network of connections and have opportunity, you joined one of a handful of prestigious mainline Protestant churches or denominations. And that was necessary for you to be a part of, the middle class community. I mean, it's what it meant. And so that church lived and breathed very much within the context of that culture that was existing at that time. And now we're in this time where, it's not that anymore. And so I think there's a lot of congregations that aren't quite sure, well, what is it that we do? And part of the culture in which we live in is very much consumeristic. And so they take on this mindset of, well, we have to provide the biggest and the best, whatever it is, in order to be relevant, in order to have meaning, in order to attract people, in order to pay our bills, so on, so forth. And here's the thing, though, to a degree, that's kind of true. Like did you ever work at camp, Matt? Did you ever do the
Yes.
camp counselor thing?
Yes.
Okay, where were you at?
I was at Sky Ranch Lutheran Camp.
Sky Ranch Lutheran Camp.
Colorado.
I was at Nebraska Lutheran Outdoor Ministry, NLOM, that obviously in Nebraska. So let me ask you this, Matt, because I'm just curious. If you can remember back, and I'm assuming this was what years were you there?
2000.
Yeah, okay.
Summer 2000, and then I was working at a church 7 years after that in Colorado. And every one of those years, I was up there for a week of confirmation camp.
Okay. So when they are putting together their brochures and promotional material for that camp, what is on the covers? What is listed there when they're distributing their advertising, their promotional material, their marketing to different churches, how are they advertising themselves? Just out of curiosity, do you remember any of those materials?
I don't remember exactly from that camp, but over the years, as I've seen camp materials come through, a lot of it is what they can provide the students with, the activities.
Yep.
Those types of things.
Right.
The hiking, the swimming.
Right.
Zip line.
100%.
High ropes course.
100%.
That kind of stuff.
Nobody, including the camp I worked at back around that same time, I can remember their promotional materials. Nowhere did they lead with, come to camp this summer to get to know Jesus.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is not how they talk about themselves. What are you doing? Well, you're going to come and you're going to live in a teepee for a week. You're going to ride horse for a week. You're
Yeah.
going to go on this adventure for a week. You're going to be with your friends for a week. You're going to have this experience of cooking in this new kind of way for a week over a fire.
Yeah.
All of these experiences and this really cool stuff that you never get to experience. Oh, and then we're also going to include some Bible study.
Give you a little bit of Jesus.
A little bit of Jesus in there too. and again, I think that's how they have to advertise themselves.
Yeah.
But again, is that the question we're asking? Is that wrong? Right?
Right. Yeah. In that case, yeah, and that's an interesting, example of it. And I don't necessarily think it's wrong that camps do that, because the kids get to do all that, and it's part of the fun that they get to do and everything. And camp continues to be one of those experiences, I think, for people that definitely helps them grow in their faith community, and they learn a whole lot more about what it feels like to be a part of a community that's, starting to live into what this kingdom of God thing is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And again, a lot of churches do this as well. So they're thinking about, what does our youth program look like?
Yeah.
What does this ministry look like? How do we do what we do so that it appeals to more and more people? And again, this is where it's a fine line to walk, because people can get lost down that road.
Yeah.
Where at the end of the day, all they're trying to do is essentially market effectively to get you into the door, to get you into a seat, to get your tax deductible contribution.
Yeah.
And the goal or the mission seems to be just getting bigger or existing. Like they're and that's where I think this becomes really problematic. Like if your church, if your organization, if the goal is simply to grow or exist, I think that's a really bad reason to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you run into problems where you are not clear on what it is that you're trying to do. You're just trying to get people.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of these ideas, I think, come from then. Like, oh, let's just, let's do a magic show. Let's have magicians come in.
Yeah.
Let's have, this music superstar, and hey, we'll get people in this door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think it's really easy to forget sometimes what it is that you're called to do.
Yeah. And I've, been doing youth ministry for a long time now too. So I've gone through many ups and downs as far as that whole aspect of it goes, as far as what is this about? How are we going to get kids to come to this event? And I think when I first started out, I was just like, well, we need to entertain them.
Yeah.
We got to entertain them. We got to get them here and let's do some fun stuff. And they'll have such a good time that they'll want to come back and they'll tell their friends. And so we did, a lot of my first job was just doing events that were entertaining and fun, and taking them to places, taking them to play laser tag, taking them to this, that, or the other. And what I found was that, okay, those things were okay to get them in the door, but the things that was actually something that was worthwhile in their life was that they were starting to build this community that they actually loved, these friends these friendships that they loved, these people that they loved. And that was way more important. And then I started to realize, well, I don't need to entertain these kids. They're not even looking for that. They got enough entertainment in their world and in their lives already. You can't compete with the amount of entertainment that's out there for them, especially today. But what you can provide them for is friendships that matter, and friendships that allow them to be themselves and grow deeper in that community, and that I think is what, I try to do now. Instead, I think I wrote down in my notes here that I used to think, youth ministry exists to minister to youth. I came across that saying somewhere. Youth ministry exists to minister to youth, not just to entertain them and stuff. So the idea now is just, how do we create events and programs and stuff that allow youth to come and be a part of, not a youth group, but a part of the church, the bigger church, and learn about it and grow in it and build those communities within that church with all ages and help them grow into that, I guess,
Right. So here's another piece I'll throw in here on how this becomes a little bit complicated.
Okay.
And I think again you're right on with that example with youth. And I think that's often like where people point to is like, that's that attractional model of like, how do you get people here? And almost always they're talking about like young people, right? Like kids.
Right. Oh yeah, we need to attract young families.
Yeah,
Otherwise
right.
your church won't grow.
I mean,
yeah.
I always think that's interesting. And my question is, well, why?
Yeah.
Why do you want people like that? Because they're just, then you can say you have young people, or is it because you actually believe very strongly in what you're doing and you think that those people would absolutely benefit from the mission and the community that you're forming, as you follow, Christ. But here's what I was going to say. So here's a theological lens to view this through too.
Okay.
So you have Paul, Apostle Paul. So Paul in as is recorded like in 1 Corinthians, he talks about this idea like, to the Jew I became a Jew, to the Gentile I became a Gentile. And he'll do this in other sections too that talk about, people who abstain from eating food sacrificed to idols and people who do. And basically it's not whether you do or you don't, it's that you do it within, you do it in faith. You do it because either the law, you're following it, you do it for God, or you don't because it really doesn't matter because it's sacrificed to idols. And so you basically, his whole piece though is don't disregard the other for a practice that they do that you don't do. It's about the community. It's about building each other up. Essentially, it's about meeting people where they are. And so for him, he'll engage in different tactics or different ways of being to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really good lesson for us because guess what? This is where I said a few minutes ago that the church has always been a part of culture. It's in culture. It's not removed from it. I don't think we can speak to people without speaking in some way the language of culture.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about our culture being very consumeristic, for better or for worse, yeah, that's true. And how do we as a congregation begin to be able to articulate value, like the value that we offer, in a way that people can experience what it is that we have that is life-giving? Because here's what I think. Like, there are some places where like won't even do that. We are, and you can look at this like Amish or some of those groups, those communities that absolutely are very much outside of the culture. We don't do technology. We don't do this stuff
in their everyday regular lives,
like everything. Like we the whole point of the community is to be just removed from that main culture.
Yeah.
And the other side of the coin, you have again congregations that don't really care what their message is as long as they can get people in the door, and it's nothing but mindless consumerism.
Sure.
And then you have hopefully a good middle ground that says we have to be able to speak in ways that people can hear us.
Yeah.
And what value do we offer people? Because guess what? I can talk all day long about an experience that I've had that's great for me, but it doesn't necessarily translate into something that's good for you. And so we have to be able to think of ways to speak to people where they get what it is that we do and are drawn into the experience. And so I think that's like, we can talk about like our service and learning trips are just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to think about where can we take our youth that provides some kind of really interesting experience.
Yeah.
And center it on service.
Yeah, exactly. Because if we say we're going to go to,
Small
I don't know.
small town Minnesota,
Small town Minnesota.
you know.
Probably not going to get a whole bunch
No.
of students that want to go on that.
Not like we would if we're going to San Francisco.
Yep. Which is where we're going this year, Chad. Did you know that?
It is.
Yeah, you do kind of need to, provide them with a fun experience, but also not just to see San Francisco, but to allow them those moments of stepping out in faith and getting to see a different culture from a different side of things, to see how God's working in the lives of people that they would not normally come across.
Right.
Broadens their perspectives, their horizons, and so those become the kind of maybe the ways that they do get connected to what the church can actually really provide people with.
Right.
That community that's reaching out and trying to help in whatever ways it can put things back together.
Absolutely.
Small ways and big ways.
Yeah, I mean, and it's another reason why we even do just like things like this, like podcasts. We try to meet people, in a more of a digital space, digital environment. Take us along with you in their cars, or take along with them in their cars. Any way that we can try to like meet people, where they are, and like I said, it becomes a middle ground approach is probably. I think it's the most faithful approach because it doesn't remove us from the culture in which we exist, and it also keeps us centered on the message of Jesus, the kingdom of God that Jesus proclaims, because that matters. And it just does. I mean, and you got to think about the value that congregations provide in a culture right now that is and will be for the foreseeable future really fixated on what's in it for me. I would love to be able to move beyond that, but at the same time, you just have to acknowledge that's where we are and help people see, through that there is something also deeper to connect to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Chad, as we're thinking about this,
Yeah.
do you think it's nothing, because nothing's ever black and white?
No, unfortunately.
Is there, right? It would be so much easier if we could just say that church is consumeristic. Be careful, that one's not.
Yeah,
you're
right.
Good, you're good to go there. Is there a line though you think that some churches could cross that would help? I don't know. Define this for us a bit, or how do we go about thinking about this?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's a really good question because, I mean, the short answer is no. I don't think there is just a magic point where you can say, oh, well, that they've crossed over to the dark side now.
Yeah.
I wish it was that simple. I don't think it is. But here's what I do think about this. So I think this is true not just of churches, but really just of all nonprofit organizations, and churches being one of them. And so it all goes back to your mission. Like, what is at the core? What is at the center of what you are trying to do? And if the church's core mission is to become a community of disciples of Christ, to walk in the way of Jesus, to connect ourselves with self-sacrificial love and service as we love God and love our neighbors as ourselves. I mean, and help people to experience this in a lived community, if that is the center of what we are doing, are we now thinking of creative, artistic ways to experience this? Are we trying to implement culturally relevant ways to talk about this, to bring people into that community and lifestyle? And if that's what we're doing, I think that's great. I think there's always room, in that world for being creative. But here's the kind of where it gets gray. I think along the line along the path that people walk when they're trying to do that, you can get to the point where you start to tip and where it becomes less about the mission of being this kind of community and really just wanting to get more people, wanting to get more likes, wanting to change your missional core identity into something that is more palatable for other people that you think might draw people in. And then you start coming up with like really off the wall ideas that have nothing to do with your core mission and ministry, but just are designed to capture people's sense of consumerism then. Like that's the example that I gave, like where church becomes more of a talk show reality where the lucky seat winner gets a big screen TV every week.
Right.
I mean that I don't know then I think we're off on the deep end somewhere. When it becomes more about myself, when it becomes more about the individual than it does about the community as a whole, and the mission that they serve, that's where I think things went too far.
Okay. So we've talked about a lot of stuff here, Chad. There's another part to that blurb. This is the second part of that blurb the one I read earlier in the episode. It says, so this is the challenge then for churches from that blurb. But churches must challenge rather than cater to this mentality. Church is a place where members of a body come together for a purpose beyond themselves. It's an invitation to join Christ in what he is already doing in the world, not an invitation for Christ to affirm our self-actualization.
Yes.
End blurb.
Do you mean it's really just not about me, myself, and I, Matt?
I guess not.
Yeah.
Though, I tend to think it is all about me.
It's hard, though. I mean, because... yes, you are connected to a larger community, and that is 100% at the core of the mission. And at the same time, yes, we walk that fine line of, I've been to places. After you read that, I was thinking to myself, have I been to places that I just really have found I just can't be a part of that community? And the answer to that is that actually, yeah. I went to a funeral one time at a church where their community there, the message that I heard was so off-putting for me. Like it was so judgmental, so close-minded, so angry that I felt gross. Like, I think if I showed up in that community week after week, it would be soul-crushing for me. And so there is something to the fact that it's more than just myself. And this is where we've been talking about this gray area. And at the same time, there has to be a little bit of is this a place that brings complete and wholeness to my life, and does it fill me with life as opposed to just taking it from me? Yeah,
and I think that's where your soul knew that there's something theologically here that doesn't line up with my soul here, and it feels very weird, and I don't like this. And I've definitely been in those situations too.
Yeah,
where and I've been to some churches too where I was like, oh, well, that was nice.
Right.
But it's like I came, I heard great music. I heard a real nice self-help type of a message.
Yeah.
And I got something out of it, but it didn't connect me to really the bigger picture of what Jesus is doing, on earth, I think. Like the bigger mission we talked about. And so I don't know, take that for what it is. But, and then I've been to churches too, where I went to a church one time near Halloween, and they provided, I saw they were actually putting those for sale sign type of signs out all over the community. It said Thriller, like Michael Jackson's Thriller, come to church this such date. We're doing Thriller. And they did. I went to this church. They had the whole thing set up. Did
they do the dance and everything?
They had a Michael Jackson impersonator. They did a graveyard thing. They literally just did a run through of Thriller. And then after that, their pastor came out and gave, a message.
Right.
So it was not for me. I was like, okay, you guys do you. But they got me there. They got me there because of the Thriller thing, because I was just too curious. I was like, what is this tactic? This is what I haven't seen before. But for me, it just, after, the Thriller felt weird and out of place.
Right.
And you can't, if you're going to impersonate somebody, don't impersonate the best that's ever done it as far as production and dancing goes. And then, the message was, I don't know, out of place for me.
So should the church impersonate Michael Jackson in Thriller, the most classic of all music videos ever made?
Nope, they failed. Don't do that.
And and this also just brings up another thing, Matt, too, that I was thinking about as you were talking about that again, because hanging, putting signs around the community saying that this is what you're going to offer, so on and so forth. Here's a plug real quick for a short read. A guy named Dietrich Bonhoeffer, if you don't know who Bonhoeffer was, Lutheran theologian back in the World War II era, wrote a book called Life Together. Small book, but it is a book about essentially what life together is about, what church is community is about. And it is not about the creation or the duplication of fantastic movie or MTV videos, but it is a community that gathers in the way of Christ to support one another, that just leads to wholeness for people. And if you've not read that, this is my plug out there for people looking for a short read. Life Together by Dietrich Bonhoeffer can really get at the kind of community that we're talking about, that is not at its core about consumerism.
Not meant to entertain you.
Not meant to entertain you.
More meant to connect you.
Exactly.
I like it. That's actually one I haven't read. I need to read that one.
You should do that. It's a short read. It won't take you very long.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Because, I got a lot of commercials to watch.
Yes,
Chad.
right. A lot of stuff to buy.
A lot of stuff to buy. I got to get out there. Christmas is coming. Okay. Maybe we'll end on this note. So I'm a church shopper.
Yep.
Let's say I walk through the doors, Chad. I sit down. I want to speak with the pastor.
Yep.
Say, Chad, you're the pastor of this here place?
Yeah.
This here establishment?
Yep.
What can you provide me with?
And when people ask that question, I talk about the community that is Bethlehem.
Yeah.
I don't know what this place provides for people, but here's what the community does. And I tell people, we are a community that is centered in Jesus' call to serve and love our neighbors. We try to meet people where they are, as they are, for who they are. And because of that, there are some people who are just stepping in the door for the first time and aren't quite sure about this. There are other people who've been here and are absolutely dead certain about their faith, and there's many people in between. And we try to meet people wherever they are to help them take a step deeper. We are a place that welcomes kids because we value the intergenerational approach. We believe that God is present within the community and seek to partner with different organizations for the sake of God's kingdom that comes about in different ways. And at the core of everything is God's love and grace that makes room for the least and allows us to be a community together. And basically, if that is the type of environment you're looking for, if that is something that feeds you, that connects you to God by connecting you to others, then this is a really good place for you. And to be honest, for some people, that's not what they're looking for, and they might know that. And if that is the case, my goal is not to just get people here by any means. I want to help them find a place where they can thrive and be better served. And if that is recommending another congregation, one of the many of the 100+ congregations in our community, then I can do that. And I have done that, actually, help people find a fit that works for them. Hopefully not in just a consumeristic, plain and simple consumeristic way where it's just about, getting people in the door, but hopefully in a way that this is who I am, this is what I need spiritually, and this is the best place that is able to provide that for me at this point. Yeah.
Well, I guess, that sounds all right to me. I suppose I'll come here.
And there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting conversation, and I think a lot of good stuff to think about and continue to think about.
Yeah.
I think.
And I think I'll end with this one too. I think this is a harder conversation because it's not so black and white. It's very gray. And I have colleagues, I have other pastor friends who would probably take a different approach to this than I do, and how they would talk about that the church is not, they'll be very adamant about this. It's not a business. And true. And we're an organization. and we do need to take seriously, I mean, I still believe we do need to take seriously our cultural context, because we live in a culture, we exist in a culture,
Yeah.
and we have to be able to speak to our culture in ways that our culture understands, translate the gospel message in ways that speak to people, not by changing the message, but by making it accessible. And I think that is different than just being consumeristic. But you do have to be able to look through the lens of, I would call it, value.
Yeah.
Like, what is it of value that we are offering? And hopefully when we offer that, people actually experience it as valuable.
Yeah. I think they will.
Yeah.
I think they will. And if they get to that point where they realize what gives them value and what doesn't, it's like what churches are offering, mac and cheese, and what what churches are offering a good steak dinner.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I always think in terms of food, Chad. You have to put it in terms of food. So,
Yep.
is your church giving you Hamburger Helper, or is it giving you something better? Really?
I mean, I think this is a good question about faith in general. Like, what value is it bringing to your life? Is it just about me, myself, and I, and what I can get for myself? Or is it really about being, again, the kingdom of God is never about an individual, one person. It is about a community. It is about God's creation, God's love for creation, God's desire to build communities that care for each other, and God's creation itself through this agape kind of love, as we've been talking about this year.
Yeah. So church isn't just about making me into the best version of myself.
As tempting as that in the self-help world as it is about the best version of you, Matt, it goes beyond you to include your neighbor, and to include a deeper sense of community that is centered in God's desire to bring creation back to God's self.
Yeah. You know what's awesome about that is when you do stop thinking so much about yourself, like, what can, not for lack of a better word, like, what can God do for me? When you start thinking less about, your self-actualization of what the church can give to you, like, and you just start doing what you're talking about, just becoming part of a community, helping others, then it tends to, like, help you out too.
Right.
It tends to actually give you those things you're looking for, and it helps you become the person that I think a lot of people are desiring to become, somebody who's, living a life with purpose, and this tends to give people a lot of purpose. I've seen it time and time again when they do get connected to a community that's living to help put whatever piece of the puzzle back together. It lights something inside them. They're like, whoa, is this what it's all about? Like, you can kind of see it kind of happening. Like, this is really meaningful. Like, I feel really good about what I've done here today. And all I did was just be a part of this group of people who are just working together to, help out in whatever way they can. So
there we go.
So anyways, if you go to church this Christmas and they're giving you Doritos, well, eat those Doritos, but then, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. Chad, any other final words here?
No, I think that's good for this episode.
Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. However you guys celebrate Christmas this year, consumerism will be a part of it, but hopefully you can take some time to just enjoy your loved ones. I'm trying to put a nice warm bow on the end here. Shall we leave it at that?
Boom.
Okay, we'll leave it at that and say thanks for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, please do drop us a line. You can email myself or Chad. Chad's email is cpeterson@bethlehemlutheran.org, and mine is mmetz@bethlehemlutheran.org. So we'll be back probably in the new year. This one will probably run through December. December gets kind of crazy, so we probably won't have another episode up until January. So hope you guys have a good Christmas season. Hopefully we'll see you around here at Christmas for all the fun activities coming up and all the fun, exciting things we're doing. So
See you then.
We'll see you then. All right. Bye-bye.